Welcome into Boxing Scene Today. It's been a great year in boxing. It's not over yet. That's right. November 8th, Erickson Lubin taking on Vergil Ortiz in a battle at 154 pounds, a red-hot division. Both fighters looking for an inside track, while Erickson Lubin joining us now. It is Jimmy Smith in studio alongside Paulie Malignaggi. Erickson, thank you so much for joining us, man. Is this the most important fight of your career? You know, with the win over Vergil Ortiz, you're right there with the best at 154. What does that mean to you, man?
It means a lot. It does mean a lot to me. Fighting a guy like Vergil Ortiz, who's another undefeated fighter, and he has a lot of backing behind him. He has the Zone. He has Golden Boy. All these guys behind him, and they want to make a big fight between him and Boots Ennis. This means a lot to me because my goal is to become the number one guy at 154 pounds, and they basically got him as the Ring Magazine number one fighter at 154 pounds, and I just totally don't agree with it because he hasn't been at this weight class that long enough, and the competition that he's fought isn't really the same. Our resume is a little different. I feel like I've been way more battle tested, been in there with way more tougher competition, beat the better guys at 154 pounds. And, I just feel overlooked. And this right here means everything to me because I know that, beating someone like Vergil Ortiz would just, catapult me and catapult my career and just have me right back at the top. Not just, as one of the top guys, but the top guy at 154 pounds. The resume speaks for itself. So I know that on November 8th, this is a very high stakes matchup. There's a lot at stake for both fighters. It's not only a big fight for myself, but this is also a big fight for Vergil Ortiz because he's looking to fight a guy like Boots Ennis, but he's never been in there with anyone of my caliber. Respect the Majimov and respect the Buachuk, but those guys ain't battle tested like I've been. Those guys they're good fighters, but they're to me just not the number one guys at the weight class. Not the best guys at the weight class. They were looking to prove themselves just like Vergil Ortiz was looking to prove himself, and he did. So I feel like a matchup between me and Vergil Ortiz is is a lot at stake, and this is a very exciting matchup. And the fans are in for a treat. The whole boxing world's in for a treat. This is an important matchup for us both.
Erickson, you made a lot of great points there with that response. I think when it comes to the way they're viewing Vergil Ortiz, we've been, besides the fact that, being fighters, it's also, you're a fan of boxing too. So you see how the business works, how the business runs even before you were a pro, right? You get a guy like Vergil Ortiz, he's the hot thing on the moment, right? And so you try to match him up with certain kind of guys, see how his development is coming along. Do you, obviously, when you are in the position to be one of those guys that, you're there and you're viewed as the guy this guy's supposed to beat and not the guy who, and also the guy who is sort of the test run for certain other guys as opposed to having a chance to beat him. But I always view it another way too. When you're in that position, you yourself don't have to look at it that way. You yourself look at it like, I got to be good enough to be in the show, to win the show, right? So you're here, bro. You're good enough to be in this fight. So whether opinions of everybody else, the way they're viewing this fight is one way, it doesn't have to be that way for you. Your mental focus is, like you just said, everybody's in for a treat. You see some things you can take advantage of. You feel sharp at the end of the camp. You talk about Madrimov and Boachuk not being on that level. I think when you mention that, you make a good point as far as stylistically, because Jaron Ennis is a guy who switches. He goes lefty, righty. He's got boxing ability. He's not just a comer, so to speak, who's aggressive. So do you feel like they're overlooking you in that you're that guy? Basically, to close the question, to put a bow tie on the question, do you feel like you're the guy because you're lefty, you've got a certain style to where, okay, before we put him in with Jaron, we got to see him with an Erickson Lubin first, and if we can beat an Erickson Lubin, then we're ready for a Jaron. Do you think that's why they made this matchup? From their point of view.
I don't really care. I don't really care. This is another high stakes matchup for myself. So I just feel like, whether or not they're looking past me or looking towards the Boots Ennis matchup, I know who he has to go in there and fight. That's myself, and I know what I'm trying to do and what I'm trying to complete in the sport. And me still not winning the world title that I dream of since a kid. It's like I'm not looking. Basically, what I'm trying to say is like I'm not looking past my.
You're not looking to be a barometer, and that's what I was looking for. That
Yeah,
was
yeah.
that's what I was looking
I
for.
don't
In
look
your,
at myself like a stepping stone. Basically, I
yeah.
don't look at myself like I'm some test dummy for him. I'm not a test dummy for Jerron in this. I know that they want to make that matchup. It's like a fantasy matchup, but to me that shit doesn't go always as planned because you look past someone like myself and I'm the type of dude to fuck up all those plans. So I really don't care if they looking towards the Jerron Ennis matchup. If Boots is looking towards the Vergil Ortiz matchup, I know that he's going in there to fight me. He's fighting Erickson Lubin and he's gonna get the best of me. And I feel like on Saturday night I'm gonna come out victorious and I'm gonna do it in a spectacular fashion.
Like I said, Erickson, it's not up. It's up to them to view it that way. It's not up to you to view it that way. So the way the
Absolutely.
way that you're speaking is exactly the way a fighter in your shoes should be speaking.
Absolutely.
What I'm curious, you talk about your experience level at the press conference when you two were face to face. You've got a lot of respect for one another. Wasn't a lot of trash talk, wasn't a lot of throwing punches and pushing and shoving, anything like that. But this idea of, hey, I don't have to dislike somebody to put it on them and give my best performance. Talk about that. Getting in there with somebody, you respect him, you like him, but doesn't matter on fight night. How does that feel to you?
It feels like one of those matchups for me. Like, there was respect on both ends because it's a high level matchup. We don't need to go in there and try selling the fight through lip. We go in there and we sell the fight by just making it a good fight. You don't have to go in there and talk shit about each other, downplay each other's character or whatever the case may be. We just, on Saturday night, it's gonna be like once the bell rings, then if you know, you know. It's gonna be it's one of those high level matchups. So I kind of I like fights like this. The world's tuned in, and I'm ready, man. I'm ready. I'm ready.
What is your message for Vergil Ortiz, for his crew, for his family, for his coaches? What do you say to him before this fight, November 8th? What's your last message before you're face to face in the ring?
I don't have much to say to those guys. I hope they trained. I hope they trained hard, and I just hope they not overlooking me like the world is, or a lot of people are. Overlook me if they want to. Then they're in for a rude awakening, and this is gonna be a high level matchup, like I said before. And on Saturday night, I'm looking to leave Dallas, Texas, Fort Worth, Texas, with my hands raised.
Well, you look to be in fantastic shape. We called your previous fights. We know how good you can be. Can't wait to see you fight November 8th against Vergil Ortiz. Best of luck with the rest of your training, champ.
Thank you.